Will we ever see a $35,000 version Tesla Model 3? This is a question that a lot of people are asking over the weekend, even though there are a lot of good news that were coming out from Elon's Twitter feed. Actually, all of them really good news. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my trip to the UK and my BMW experience, and a couple of comments of the day that I'm going to address that piled up over the weekend, and we're going to get going right now. Welcome to the show. Thank you for those of you who are watching me live on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the show. And for those of you watching me on YouTube, welcome. Please consider subscribing if you haven't done so you don't miss anything moving forward. Before we talk about all the good Tesla Model 3 news, I just wanted to make sure you guys know about my upcoming guest. Just had Steve Burns, the CEO of Workhorse, on the show. You can see that video on my in my library, of course. Michael Persky, the CEO of Pininfarina, Automobili Pininfarina, is going to be here this coming Saturday. And after that, Chad Balch with Chevrolet is there as well. I'm working on a couple of other ones that are almost done. So I will, once I get the graphics up, I'll tell you all about them as well. All right, well, let's start with this Elon's tweet that a lot of people kind of didn't really take very well, and you know, maybe rightfully so. So very recently, I was under impression, a lot of people were under impression that once Tesla hits the 5,000 Model 3 per week production, they're going to very shortly start producing the standard battery version. Now, this is something that Elon Musk kind of led us to believe, but now he says that it's going to be at least 3 to 6 months after that. Now, a lot of people, including myself, believe that they will hit this target by the end of June, but that means that really by the time they're going to be producing, or could be producing, the $35,000 version, the federal tax credit here in the United States is going to be cut in half. So, and some people are wondering if this is even going to happen. I don't know if you remember, and I've seen some people mention this already online, that, hey, remember there was a 40 kilowatt hour version for the Model S, and they produced a very limited amount of them and just kind of discontinued it almost right away. That was, I believe, a $50,000 version. So a lot of people are afraid that this is going to happen with the Model 3. I don't think so. I think they're still going to move forward with it and produce at least significant amount and stay with it. But this is something that people are concerned about. And again, probably rightfully so. Now, there are a lot of, let's talk about the specs for the Model 3 that came out. The all-wheel drive and the performance, they're both going to have still the same 310-mile range. The all-wheel drive will go 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. The performance version will go 3.5 seconds. Now, the all-wheel drive is going to be available as an option for an extra $5,000, which is a little more than people actually predicted or wanted. And the performance, which is also all-wheel drive, will be available for $78,000. Now, that does not include the autopilot package, which means that kind of the whole car can go at this point for over $80,000. Now, obviously, the price is increasing rather than decreasing, but and this is what making people concerned. But remember that a lot of people have been waiting for the all-wheel drive for sure, because, you know, in colder weather states and Canada and so forth, this is something that kind of must have for a lot of people, obviously for handling and safety and so forth. And there are quite a few Model 3 enthusiasts that want to have a performance package as well. So that should sell well, at least up front, and then of course we will see. Now, before I go with, I'll tell you about a few other good news that Elon announced. I should mention this show and this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. If you want to shop there in the next a few days, few weeks, few months, whatever, you can pick up a discount code in the description of this video so you can save a few bucks. All right, so let's move on to another good news that Elon announced. Again, kind of very vague, but nevertheless, he's announcing that they're going to unveil the third generation of Superchargers a late summer, which really at this point means maybe even later than that. Major improvements, he says, major improvements all around. We don't know what those are, but we do know that Tesla needs to catch up with the Superchargers just in general, because a lot of other companies are catching up, including the Ionity fast charging network in Europe. They're going to get their charging rate up to 300 kilowatts, where Tesla's right now is 145, I believe. So I expect that to go to maybe 200, 250. I don't think it's going to go to 300. Also, Audi e-tron that's coming out at the end of this year is also going to have a higher charging rate, faster charging rate capacity than Tesla Model S and X. So I'm assuming that might also be part of this whole unveiling or rolling out of the version 3 superchargers, because obviously you can't just roll out a faster superchargers without cars that are able to take that charging rate. So of course there will be the first generation, a second generation cars with supercharging, but maybe there will be retrofit. I don't know. So that's good news. And also, Elon Musk said that very soon you'll be able to basically schedule the service appointment with a Ranger remotely, not even with a Ranger, but especially with a Ranger remotely. So basically you won't need to do much of a paperwork. So that's good news. And as you know, more and more of these vans that are gas powered vans right now, but they're probably going to switch it to their own Model X and Model S cars. Where you just come out, and this is a picture of my car being serviced at my office, where I didn't even have to come out, just unlock the car. They came out, and I think door handle broken at that point in time, switched it and left, and it was that's all there was to it. So you'll be able to get that going with just a quick push of a few buttons, I guess, or swipes on your phone. So that's definitely good news. Well, listen, let's talk about the royal wedding. And I even got a nice souvenir from the UK as I was there. Now, obviously, I don't care about the wedding, but I do care the fact that they made a big splash. One of the biggest news that came out of it is that the kids basically got to drive the Jaguar E-Type a zero concept car, which is an all-electric Jaguar. They basically retrofitted this classic that they were making in the late 60s, and a lot of people really like it. A lot of collectors have it now. It looks like they might go in production on a low in the small volume, who knows. But the fact that it got so much publicity because it was kind of, I guess, one of the highlights. As you can see, the picture that I showed was a tweet from Kingston Palace, and so that's great. This is another great publicity for our movement, and obviously I welcome that. And speaking of the UK, I just came back from there. I had a great experience with the BMW i team for their Pure Impulse event, which is kind of a many events of Tesla owners that I've covered, but this is basically i8 owners that got together, and BMW had a great reception for them. As you can see, all of them kind of got to park in there, and there was an i3 there even, which is pretty cool. Now this is a media car that I got to drive, even though it was a left-hand side drive that I drove on the left side of the road, so that was a little weird, but kind of cool. I'm going to make a video about it, probably going to post it on Sunday with everything. As you can see, driving it was a great through all of the beautiful countryside of the United Kingdom. That was really cool. I like driving this car, and I have an interesting kind of new take on plug-in hybrids, I guess, and we'll talk about that, of course, interested to know. And then we ended up in this airport hangar where everybody just kind of had lunch and hung out, and we checked out the cars and stuff like that. So that was definitely an interesting experience. I'm keeping my eye on BMW future of electrifying their fleet, and I also talked to some owners and their product manager right there, so I will air it all as soon as I can. All right, let's move on to the comment of the day. Actually, we get a couple of them. First one is this, and I noticed that a lot of people just kind of, I don't know why, the community is kind of separating on and not very accepting of each other. As you can see, this is one comment talking about what we need to do to get the electric cars to the main market, to more people to adopt it. And one person, as you can see, saying, well, we need more superchargers and mega chargers all around the shopping malls and all along the freeways. And another person says, no, we need to basically make sure we build infrastructure so actually get the technology further where you can go 500-600 miles on one charge. But you know what? I think both of them are right, and I'm not really sure why so many people kind of argue. There are so many different ways how we can get there, but obviously better batteries with longer range and getting chargers everywhere wherever we go or in the places where we live. But I see more and more debate about it, but I'm not quite sure why. Lately I've noticed that everybody just wants their opinion to be the right one. all of you guys, I think, are right, and there are a lot of different ways how we can achieve that. So maybe no need to kind of fight over it. Maybe we can agree that we all have good ideas. Some are better, some are worse, but kind of overall, we should at least definitely respect each other's opinion. Which I have to say, most comments in my video comment section have been pretty respectful, even though a lot of people disagree, and I really appreciate it. So. Okay, let me move on to the second comment, which was about, the controversy with the conference call. And Mark Plot here says, boneheaded questions don't belong to a conference call. They can suck it. Well, so here's the thing, and I think I've tried mentioning it many times. So it's kind of frustrating that, just because Elon Musk thought, or you think that's a boneheaded question, that's really has nothing to do with whether or not he should answer it, because the way universe goes around is this. If you're a CEO of the company in your conference call about it's an earnings call, you have to answer questions from investors and media and analysts. So it's not really up to you to decide whether these questions are boneheaded or not, whether you like these questions or not. You have to sit there and listen. If you don't want to do it, you can have one of the other executives do it. You can not do it at all, and maybe just change positions and not be a CEO of the company, do something else for the company, or not. You can take your company private like Michael Dell. But if you are part of this community, part of this game of being in a publicly traded company, you have to answer those questions. And by the way, I completely disagree that those questions were boneheaded. One of the questions, if you remember, was about the quality of the Model 3Q. And, even to yesterday, Elon Musk basically, with his tweet that I showed you guys, basically said that the profitability and life of this company depends on how well and how much of a profit margin they're going to accomplish with their Model 3. And it's very important to see what kind of a queue that they have, what kind of quality customers and how many of them they have in their reservation list. I thought that was actually a very good question. If I was to ask one question, really, that would be the question I ask. So again, don't think it's a boneheaded question. Secondly, it's not Elon's or your or my call. This is just how it works. You have to answer them and be respectful. So hopefully that clears it up, but I see still a lot of you guys are posting something like this, and I hope we kind of can understand that this is not a CBS interview. This was an earnings call. So I'm sure this conversation will continue, and of course I welcome that. All right, this was a lot of news to cover. I'm glad I'm back in the United States. It was a great trip, but I'm looking forward to once again continue doing daily videos. I hope you enjoyed the ones that I posted over the weekend. And of course, by the way, this cup was given to me as a gift from Hafiz, the podcaster that I just featured the video on Sunday. So I hope you can enjoy that. All right, guys, see you tomorrow. And of course, remember to stay charged.